What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be breaking down why Yoro has an 83.3% win rate on Drow Ranger this patch. Honestly, nobody really expected this hero to be really strong, but as players have been noticing Yoro, they have been picking up the Drow Ranger and have been winning a lot of MMR. And I'm going to be breaking down some of the secrets of Yatoro's success and why he's been winning so many games. It used to be a little bit higher, but right now he's currently 10-2, which is absolutely impressive. He hit rank 1 Immortal, so he is one of the best players in the world. Not just because MMR is just a number, but overall he's one of the best carry players to ever play the game. So honestly, whatever he does is usually going to be really good. So first of all, the facet he runs all the time is going to be the sidestep facet, which honestly it took me a little bit to get used to. I was not used to this facet. I was usually recommending to play with Vantage Point. That way it synergizes with your Glacier, which is your Shard, but Yoro ignores that completely and is constantly using sidestep, which basically allows you to move slightly while using multi-shot and also allows you to use items as well. So it's also really important that he is able to maximize his efficiency in the lane, and not only is he able to last it very well and have a ton of farm, he is also able to harass his enemies out of lane and continue to skyrocket his net worth, which is one of the reasons why he's one of the best Drow players out there. It's because he knows exactly when to hit the enemy and when to go for his last hit or deny. He prioritizes last hits first, then denies, and then harass. One of the really cool things about Drow Ranger is that your frost arrows don't draw aggro, so you can be right inside the creep wave and start spamming your frost arrows at the enemy creeps are not going to get on top of you and you're not going to screw up the aggro. So that is really important, that if there's nothing for you to be doing in the lane, you're not last hitting, you're not going for a deny, then start hitting the enemy, start using up that mana pool and start hitting them with your frost arrows. Frost arrows do so much freaking damage, they're extremely underrated, but one thing you need to keep in mind is that Drow is extremely squishy, so if they have any stuns or any abilities to get on top of you quite quickly, then you need to mind your space, mind your distance, and continue to hit them, but from a safe distance where you can easily get into cover and get away from sticky situations. One thing you cannot do on Drow Ranger is to tunnel vision on one target just because they might be low, because most likely you will be targeted by the other support. As you're tunnel visioning, you will not realize what is going on. The starting items for Yoro every single game have been starting out with a full wand and 3 branches, and then eventually shipping out some tangos if need be. The problem I have with this startup build is that it doesn't work every single game. There's a lot of lanes where the wand is going to have zero benefit to you because they're not casting enough spells, and that can be quite problematic for you. So if you see that the enemy in the off lane is going to be casting a lot of spells and you're going to have that wand giving you some type of value, then definitely go for it. It's a fantastic item build. It gives you pretty decent stats to last it, but other than that, you should be rushing a Wraith Band and the Falcon Blade, which honestly is a really good part of the kit. A lot of people were not building Falcon Blade on pretty much any hero, and it's good to see that the item has resurged on Drow Ranger. Pretty much everybody is picking up this item. It makes a lot of sense. You can pick it up really quickly, and it gives everything that Drow needs. It gives you extra HP, damage, and also mana regen. All these things are very important for Drow Ranger to be strong in the fights. And then he finishes his treads and will either go for a Dragonlance or a Yasha, but pretty much 90% of the time he's going to be getting his Dragonlance, and then he's going to get that Manta, and then it really depends on what the game calls for. He could either finish his Hurricane Pike, get an Aghanim Scepter, or get a BKB or even a Butterfly or a Monkey King Bar. That really depends on what the game calls for, but the standard build is there. The Manta, you pretty much get it every single game, and the Hurricane Pike. Those are the 2 items that you cannot miss, that you will definitely need every single game. And for the skill build, he maxes out multi-shot, and then he maxes out frost arrows with 1 skill point into Gust, and he'll usually take that in the laning phase just in case. You never know when you might need it. It is pretty good to always put a skill point into Gust. One of the really good things about Drow is that marksmanship goes to the base armor, so heroes like Terrorblade, Morphling, all these high armor heroes you don't really care about, you can easily shred them through the lane. And with Terrorblade offlane being really popular, it is nice for Drow to be making a comeback in the meta, and Morphling as well has been played in the offlane before, so it can definitely be a possibility for you to run up into these matchups. And the fact that most offlaners right now in the meta are mostly all melee, you can easily take advantage of this with your frost arrows and spam them out of lane. Heroes like Centaur, Axe, Wraith King, Sand King, all these heroes are going to get absolutely obliterated by the Drow. Mind you, as long as your positioning is key. If you're running up against these heroes and you're in a bad position, these heroes are going to be able to capitalize on you and take to their advantage that you are a very squishy hero, and they're going to take you out very easily. So mind your distance and farm accordingly. One of the things I also recommended that Yoro does as well is that he's not constantly out there AFK farming. There's a time for him to farm and a time for him to push objectives and take team fights with his team. One of the really cool things about Drow is that you can easily take team fights early on because you are so strong and you're never really relying on cooldowns. All your abilities are very fast. Your multi-shot and your gust and your frost arrows, as long as you have mana, you're able to use them. And then your ultimate is a passive. So pretty much go time is whenever you want. You can join up your team whenever you want, unless you are trying to hit a certain item, but don't just AFK farm because your team will definitely suffer. And even though Drow can definitely take it into the ultra late game, as she is one of the best late game carries in the game, you definitely don't want to always be pushing games into the ultra late because your effectiveness can definitely go down as the enemy team gets much more items, or they get blink daggers to be able to jump on top of you. So I'd rather use my advantage early on and how strong I am and be able to take team fights with my team. That way we are not at a heavy disadvantage playing 4 versus 5. Some of the best support pairings you guys should be using with Drow Ranger is heroes like Ogre, Tusk, Vengeful Spirit, Lich, Dark Willow, heroes that can tank for you or that have easy setup for you to get kills. Heroes like Tusk and Ogre are absolutely fantastic because they're just beefcakes that are gonna initiate and they're gonna be right in front of you, soaking up all the damage. Heroes like Centaur, Bristleback are really good pairings as well because they're gonna be doing the jumping. They're gonna be out there in the front line taking all the aggression, and meanwhile you're gonna be in the back line just absolutely destroying targets in the safety of distance. You're gonna be able to take advantage of this. But if your offlaner is super squishy, you might have a little bit of issue. Drow's not the type of hero that likes to go face first, and if you are, then you're going to be building a lot more defensive items. You're going to have to build your Lincoln Sphere plus your Manta plus your Hurricane Pike and maybe something else to get by, because you will need these defensive items. One thing you guys have to keep in mind as well on Drow is that it's not all about damage. You already do a ton of damage yourself. If you find out that you're dying way too much, then build more defensive items. Have your Manta, have your Hurricane Pike, have a Lincoln Sphere, maybe a BKB, and then maybe go for the 1 damage item. You're already doing a ton of damage yourself, so you don't need to really worry about getting these damage items online super quickly because you're already pumping out damage thanks to your frost arrows and your marksmanship. So it is a big mistake I see a lot of Drow players making, and I would not like to see these mistakes happening as much because they do hinder you quite a bit, that you're going this kind of glass cannon build when you should be building tankier and trying to sustain through the team fights and being as strong as possible, and not being this sniper type style where you pretty much get hit twice and you die. You'd rather be really tanky. That way when your tank goes down, you're still going to be able to actually do something in the fight and not have to run away. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys learned something, consider subscribing and joining the Dota Chronicles community. Let me know what other players you guys would like to see next featured on the channel. I want to make this a little bit of a mini series, kind of explaining some of the best players performing on their best heroes and why they're doing this. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video. See you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.